Hey, what is up, guys? Alright, coming at you with a different video today. A few questions that I get asked frequently, so a bit of a question and answer videos. And so just getting right into it, the first question that I get asked a lot from generally people at the gym and young guys and just guys working out at the gym is what is your opinion on supplements and which would you recommend? So supplements, you got to remember, a multi-billion-dollar industry. So basically it's all about money. So they do have their place, but I would say for the majority of trainers out there, it's not something that you should be really worried about. It's the food and the training that's going to get you the best results, and supplements are really for the guys that are trying to get that next level and that extra little bit out of their training. So for most people it's probably not necessary, but I know guys like to get excited about supplements, and anytime they can get a new protein or pre-workout, it gets them excited. So it does have its place a little bit that way, but the main thing with the marketing, it's marketed to the younger sort of guys or the newer people to the gym that don't have much experience or knowledge yet about their training and just bodybuilding in general. So a lot of it's very sort of flashy, and anything that's marketed to the general public is always going to be less of a good product, because more of the money that they're investing is going into the marketing rather than the product. So with supplements, you really want to get like no frills. So all the branding and all the pretty pictures and the big sponsorships that they give to popular Instagram and YouTube people that's always a warning sign. Whenever they've got a big star for the company, it means that they're spending a lot of money on the marketing and promoting those stars rather than just giving good products. So the best products that I can recommend, the best brand, the ones that I like are normally Bulk Nutrients in Australia, and Gentech is also a very good product. Gentech's going to be a little bit more expensive, but their products are top notch in Australia. International Protein's another good one, and ATP Science. I hear a lot. I've never used a lot of their products, but I hear a lot of good things. So there's a few. The supplements that I would recommend, or the reason for using them, would be just a basic protein shake. And what you want to do with your protein shake is, the reason why you're having a protein shake is because it's going to be into your bloodstream a lot faster than food. So it's something that you might have straight after your workout, just to replenish your protein a lot faster than if you were to have, chicken or steak or fish or whatever. So the other time would be first thing in the morning, just to break the fast and get some protein in there as quickly as possible. The other thing would be BCAAs while you're training, branched chain amino acids. Really, you can have a choice between doing the protein shake afterwards or the BCAAs during your workout. Apparently, either or is enough. So, and most of the experts would say that BCAAs would probably be the best choice out of the two. But I've always done both. So BCAAs while I train, and then a protein shake afterwards, just because I'm trying to get as much as possible out of things as I can, and I try not to leave anything open where I'm missing out on any opportunities for muscle growth, but it's probably not really necessary. So those are the first two. Those are the main two. Obviously there's creatine monohydrate, which is normally you can 5 grams a day post workout or intra-workout, doesn't really matter. That's apparently a very proven supplement as well. I do notice that my strength does increase slightly with creatine, and maybe it's just knowing that you're getting getting that supplement as well. Just knowing that probably is just maybe like a placebo sort of effect with that as well. The other thing, like a pre-workout, I'm not big on pre-workouts, but they do have their place. I mean, caffeine does work. You can either just have a black coffee or go pre-workout, but some things like beta-alanine and arginine and citrulline malate are good as well. You get a little bit out of it, but not much. So all in all, supplements are just really just to try and get that 1 or 2% more out of your training. It's not a big deal, and if you got, say, $50 to spend, you'd rather spend $50 on food than any type of supplement out there. But that's my take on supplement. So the next question I get is, so what got me into weight training? And it's kind of a long story. So ever since I was a very small kid, so probably about 2 or 3 or 4 years old, I was always a very big fan of Arnold Schwarzenegger. And I remember my mum taking me to see Terminator 2 when I was about 4 years old, or 4 or 5 years old, and just loved Schwarzenegger. And the reason was because just the way he carried himself and the way that people always treated him in his movies, they always gave him a lot of respect. And he was just the ultimate sort of badass sort of guy, very, very masculine and all that sort of thing. And it was believable because he had the physique as well. You believed that he was the Terminator because he had this monstrous physique and very powerful physique. So that was a big influence on me going back to when I was a very small kid. But when I first started training, it was actually a rugby league coach that I had when I was 14 that got us into training back in Balmain PCYC. So actually it was more for the forwards, because I used to be a very small kid and I played halfback, so the forwards were going to be, he was going to get them into the gym to help them bulk up. But I caught wind of that and was very keen to get in and see what it was all about. And I even remember my first exercise, which was a Smith machine incline press with no weight at all, and just knew straight away. I was very excited about the whole experience. And even back before that, I remember doing exercises in the backyard when I was probably 4 or 5 or 6 years old, and even doing push-ups in class and flexing my muscles to all the girls, and thought it was great, and just have always loved it. So 14 was when I started training in the gym. The problem that I had was back then bodybuilding wasn't very appealing to me. I was probably about 45 kilos when I started training. I was a very small kid, and the current Mr. Olympia at the time was Ronnie Coleman, and he was about 120 kilos, so and just looked like an alien, and just it wasn't something that was in Hollywood at all. Like, it was kind of frowned upon, and of course there was always the steroids and scandals and that sort of thing that these guys were killing themselves. And there were I remember a lot of guys sort of dropping like flies left, right and centre back in those days. That was the early 2000s. So the guys that were the role models back then in the magazines, because we only really had the magazines, this was even just before the internet was sort of taking off, was guys like Dennis James and Jay Cutler. I remember Dexter Jackson and Darren Charles. They were guys that you were like, oh yeah, I kind of want to look like that, but not really. And there was Marcus Rule and Gunther Schneidenkamp, and they were just absolutely massive. So it was something that you just thought, well, that's not what I'm going to be sort of looking to do. So back then it was more like the Men's Health sort of magazine, so like a fitness model type look. So never really got into the bodybuilding properly when I was younger, but it was just something that always sucked me in. Every year I was just more and more interested, and probably the time that it turned was probably 19 and 20 years old. I was playing cricket, and that was probably my main focus back then. But I remember there used to be an old protein or supplement shop on Cleveland Street. This is when they didn't have many supplement shops anywhere, and it was an old sort of dingy, sort of weird sort of place. It was owned by a couple of gay blokes, so it was very intimidating to go into. I was always too scared to go into it, but one day I did, and I bought the Ronnie Coleman training video and some of the lifts that he was doing, because I loved the training. I loved watching the Rocky movies and the training montages and pumping iron. I love pumping iron. So, and then just seeing Ronnie Coleman train was next level. Still didn't want to look like him, but I loved it. The squats and the leg press and the way he carried on in the gym. He was a real character. So that sucked me in even more. And then started collecting the old bodybuilding DVDs, because this was before YouTube. So you had to go to these weird places to find these DVDs and that sort of thing. So the next main one that I got was Dorian Yates' Blood and Guts. So I'd only really read a few things about Dorian Yates. I wasn't a big reader in the magazines back then. That was kind of how you got your information for bodybuilding. So I never really delved into the magazines too much. I wasn't a big reader, but I did pick up that Dorian Yates was like a very, very hard trainer. So Blood and Guts was the next one that I got, and absolutely loved it and watched it pretty much every day. And my mum used to be like, "What the hell is going on in your room? Like, who are these blokes screaming?" She thought it was a porno. Like, she's just she's like, "What the hell are you watching?" You know. So that was pretty funny back in the day, because Dorian, if you have never seen Blood and Guts, Dorian Yates' training partner Leroy Davis is a bit of a character and is screaming at the top of his lungs during the whole workout. So yeah, she didn't know what was going on. So, but that was the next thing that really got me into it, because I loved the way Dorian trained. Everything that he did looked like he had such purpose, and just every movement was in control. And compared to a lot of other bodybuilders too, they didn't. And his advice too, whenever I come across Dorian Yates' advice, it was very common sense sort of stuff, but sort of spot on and very direct, and had a purpose, where a lot of other bodybuilders didn't really give too much away. I don't think they really knew how to get their message across, I guess. But so Dorian was another guy that I loved, and I still watch a lot of Dorian Yates stuff. I still a big fan of Dorian. So then YouTube came along, and it just kept sucking me in more and more, and until I eventually started competing when I was 25, when I did my first competition. And that was so I gave cricket away in 2009, 2010. Originally was just going to take the year off and get back into it the next year, because I didn't really know anything else other than playing rugby league, AFL and cricket. So, and I kept the cricket going, but just sort of tried to go back the next year, and just was like, nah, I'm done with this. So then that's when I decided that bodybuilding was what I wanted to pursue. So ever since, been at it, and keep learning, and just keep sucking me in more and more. So I guess I'm stuck with it.